you know, you join MCSK by choice. So you can't also be in MCSK and you're the one peddling lies. You saw when I announced that the board has declared 20 million for distribution for January, starting the year by giving musicians money, which they have not gotten for over 10 years. Someone calculates and says 20 million divided by 16,000 members, and you get 1,250. It's not true. And musicians are going with it. I saw one of them, a major guy, on TV last night, peddling those lies. Even in your company, if you have a payroll of 20 million, it doesn't mean that everybody earns the same. The MD could be taking 2 million or even 3. There could be somebody else earning 1 million, somebody earning 200, could be somebody else earning, you know, even 30, you know, the lower cadre. It's the same even in government. When people buy those kind of lies, do they want us to change this industry? So our appeal is, please stop the lies. It has to stop somewhere. Let us cooperate. Let us work together. We have started the year well. We are not stopping. And we are going to promote transparency. Yes. You've seen that we ran an advert yesterday in the national dailies announcing the criteria and the money that the board has declared, because there are distribution rules. We don't just wake up and say 1,200. No. There's a distribution rule. There's a software that determines how we distribute. And like I've always said, there are 2 ways of distribution. We use a formula that is both scientific and general. In general, we have allocated 10 million for general distribution because we know times are hard, the economic hardships, you know, people don't have money, and the cost of living is high. We have many members whose music is not played, some of it because of the corruption that I've talked about, that sometimes we hear complaints, and we have numerous complaints. It's not everybody who is corrupt, but there are some musicians whose songs will not be played by DJs and radio presenters until they give something. And some of them, their music is never heard. It's just played in the village. But someone else with the money, they will go even a song that is not as good, and it will be playing everywhere. These things happen. So we look at it and say it's also not fair to say that you're only going to use the criteria that recognizes the guy who is topping the charts on radio, because we know that criteria is also not fair. So we allocated 10 million that will go to general distribution, then the others will be paid scientifically. That's scientific criteria, and I can show you here. Very transparent criteria. You know, people thought that we just sit somewhere and then we say abracadabra and then so-and-so gets so much. I want to show you the chart that we are using so that you see the transparency that we are promoting. It shows the airplay, the number of airplay for your song, okay? Then, per airplay, how much are you paid? If your song is played on radio, 6 radio stations, how much do you earn per airplay? Then your scientific amount of money that is coming from this airplay, because we are counting, and this is something everybody can check. Then gross pay comes to this much. Then we remove 5% withholding tax. Of course, you remember this is not salary, so it does not attract the other statutory deductions, and you get your net pay. Very well calculated. So ideally, we are trying to promote transparency. We are introducing and we are deploying technology to ensure that what we are doing is above board. Within 1 year, by the end of this year, every musician, member of MCSK, will be able to check on their phones and see how their music is doing right now. Real time. Check where it is playing and how much it is earning. That technology is expensive. We have not been able to afford it because, as I've said, we've been spending most of the money in courts. Every year, including last year, we started by spending almost 3 million in court to get orders to operate because Kekobo took away the license. So when you start like that, most of the money goes to pay lawyers. Most of the money goes to litigation. But when you start the year with a license, you're working with the government, you are working with the police, you are working with the stakeholders. It becomes easy. That's why we are declaring we are distributing 20 million. In April, we are distributing again. In August, and so on. There is no turning back. Good times ahead for musicians. I say there will be a billionaire musician in Kenya. It may look small. 20 million may look like a drop in the ocean. But I've just told you, this is just one revenue stream.